Hello and welcome to Procreate. I'm your teacher today. Let's get into this. I already filmed this, but I felt like I was going too slow and it was a little bit confusing. So what we're going to start with the basics, and then I will get into a little bit more complex stuff that maybe you'll need when you're getting a little bit more into Procreate. But for the start of this video, I'm just going to do like the very, very basics that you need to know for Procreate. So the first thing that we're going to talk about are these buttons here. So the first button we have is this one. This is your brush button. So you have a bunch of brushes, you have different categories. All of these are presets, and I won't talk much about them because these are all, again, presets on, and you'll probably have fun experimenting with them when you get the app. The only thing I will say is that you can add a brush by pressing the plus, or you can create a category. Say you want to name this, I don't know, your pour set, and if you have a pencil that you like, say you like HB pencil, then you can drag it over, put it in your thing. There it is. You can create your own set. So we'll delete that for now. One that I have is down here. I have favorites with all of my favorite brushes in it. Yeah. Next button, we have this button. This button is the smudging tool. It is the exact same thing as your brush library. So you have all this stuff. So say that I want to smudge something with an old brush. Here, I'll just put this down. I want to smudge with the old brush. Smudge with the old brush. And typically I have it as like the soft air brush just because it's smooth. So you can just blah, 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 right, like that. Perfect. All right. Next button is this button. This button is the eraser button. So again, we can choose anything we want here. So say I want to erase with the, I don't know, this. And I will paint this down here and click this. Boom, we're erasing with that. Typically, I will have it on hard airbrush just because it's the, I don't know, I find it the easiest and best option. For me personally, obviously every single brush is going to be completely up to you. I have modified some of these. And the way you do that, you just click it twice and you get a bunch of different options to change things. You can even test it out on the side. So I've just adjusted this brush to how I like it. I can send it to you if you want. But yeah, it's nothing too special. But if you find that you are wanting something more than what the presets have to offer, totally happy to give this brush to you. Anyways, feel free to experiment with that. And on to our next one, we have this button. Now this button is your layers. So basically, it took me a second to figure out layers, but I'll explain it really simply. Whatever is on top of your layer, say we're focusing on layer 5 here. So I have this line art, for example. Whatever is on top of your layer, you will draw over. And whatever is underneath your layer, you will draw under. And whatever is on top will show. So say I just drew this line art. I want to color this compass purple. Oh, that was really aggressive. Purple. We now have a purple compass. And if I want to, you know, maybe draw the corset underneath, we'll paint it red. I'll put a thing under, so whatever I draw under will show, but it won't go over top of that purple compass because this layer is underneath that one. Et voilà. Et voilà. All right, we'll get rid of those. One more thing you should know about layers that I think is a fairly basic but very useful thing to know. So say that I colored this corset, but I'm like, I don't like the color of it. I want to change it really quickly. You can either click Alpha Lock and say I want this hot pink. Now whatever I draw on, whatever I've drawn on previously, that will be it. So I could change it to this blue if I wanted. Whatever I drew on, I will draw in there. Or if you don't want to use that, another option, you can take that off. And again, all you have to do is click Alpha Lock to get that, and a little grid thingy will come up. If you don't want to do that, another option is you can create on the layer above it, click clipping mask, and say I want to paint it green. It will do the exact same thing, but it'll keep it on a different layer, and sometimes that's really helpful when you're unsure about a change that you're going to make. And if you don't like it, then you can just delete it and you'll still have the same thing as you did before. So that is that. And the last thing we'll get into is, whoops. Sorry. Another thing about layers, the last thing that I think is very basic but very important. So we have our line art. If you are worried, say like I draw on this and I don't realize, and then I go and do a bunch of work, and then I'm like, oh crap, I drew on this layer. I just messed up on my line art. That's okay, because you can swipe to the left. You get these 3 options. Delete is obviously delete the layer. Duplicate, you can duplicate your layer, so you have it on a different layer. And you can lock your layer. So if you click that layer and then you try and draw on it, the system will be like, whoa, hold on, you locked this layer. So you can open layers if you want, or you can unlock the layer and then draw on it again. But it's helpful in saving some of those important layers. I often do this with line art or things that I'm scared get deleted. To merge layers, say, you know, I have this, ooh, that looks super creepy. Say, you know, I drew the smiley face. Yay. And I want it to be on the same layer as this drawing here. I can either click merge down, so now they're on the same layer, or I can just pinch with my fingers and they'll be on the same layer. And also from this, if you click a layer, you can click copy, if you click fill layer, it'll fill whatever color is in your color palette, which is the next button we'll talk about next. And if you click reference, so this is something that I learned really quickly. Let's use the line art for this. So if I click reference and I go into a lower layer, I can drag my color, whoops, I can drag my color down, and basically with the color drop, you can drag, as soon as you let go, there's a slider at the top to show how much you fill. So if I want just to fill the hat, here we'll fill it like that, boom. And because it's on reference, it'll go basically off of the lines that have been drawn in this layer. If I were to take it off and try the same thing, it wouldn't work because there's no reference. It would just fill the entire layer. I hope that makes sense. I can clarify that if needed. And I think that's about it. You can group layers. So if you just drag a layer over top of another one, you have this group. So you can choose to show all of them or show none of them. Let's take this out of there. Again, you can delete stuff pretty easily. All right. And the last button we'll talk about is this button here, which is your color palette. There's not much to say about the color palette. It comes in a couple different options depending on how you like it. I typically have it on classic, but you can have it like very particular if you want. You could do like color harmonies. They do that now. I don't know. You can have your disc. Again, I stick with the classic. And this history thing here, it'll show you what you used recently. So if you want to quickly switch, say that I went to my palettes and I wanted to use this nice blue here. It is now in my history, but I want green now. But I want pink now. Perfect. Easy switches. Talking about palettes, you can make your own palettes. Just click plus here. You can do one from photo. You can do one from camera. You could just create new, and then if you have a color that, say I really like this pink, just tap it on there. Say, you know, I make this nice green or this nice kind of like turquoise. Then just click it. Go to palettes. Click the thing, and then you can switch. Switch. And as you can see, it's on default. So say I don't like this anymore. I don't like this palette anymore, and I want to put my sketches colors as default. Then it'll show up down here as to that. So it's just really easy to get colors when you need them. And yeah, that's pretty much everything on that side. Let's talk about this side. Now this side is a little bit more complex. Actually, no, let's not talk about that side first. Let's talk about undo and redo. So say I draw something, I don't like it. This interface here, this long thing, there are buttons at the bottom, these little arrows. So you can click undo or you can click redo. You can also either click 2 fingers on the screen for undo or 3 fingers on the screen for redo. This slider up top here chooses the size of your brush. This one down here chooses the opacity. So if I put it down really low and I'm pressing really freaking hard, it's not going to show up very much. If I put it full opacity and I'm pushing really hard, boom. And also, like if you have an Apple Pencil, then like the lighter you press versus the harder you press, like a normal pencil, you'll get that going on. And this little button here is a little bit sketchy. I don't think it's on right now for me because I think I didn't like it. But typically I think it puts down a color drop. So say I color drop this. No, I don't think I have color drop on at all. Sorry, I can't demonstrate that. You'll figure that one out for your own. Don't worry about that. All right, let's talk about these buttons here. So the farthest one, you have your gallery button. Essentially, it'll just take you to your gallery so you can see all the other stuff, and I'll come back and talk about the gallery in just a second. Next button you have is this one. So this one's this is basically your main menu almost. Let's talk about this one. I won't go through every single function. I'll just go through the ones that I think are important. So we can insert a photo. Say I want to insert a photo of, I don't know, this guy. Boom. Again, he's on his own layer. It'll say inserted image. You can still draw on top of that if you want. And again, same thing with the layers. Whatever it's on top of, it'll be over. Whatever it's underneath, it'll be under. And just to move things, just click and drag. All right. And to hide things, you can click this check mark here, and it'll hide it. So say I don't want to see that face anymore. Boom, it's gone. All right. Well, now let's go in here. You can take a photo. That's pretty self-explanatory. Cut, copy, canvas, and paste is really helpful. So say that I wanted to copy this. I could either double-click the layer, press copy, or I could just go in here and press copy, go to a different layer, click paste, boom. I have my second line art thing. Or the difference between copy and copy canvas is whatever is on the screen, it will save. So say I click copy canvas and we click paste here, it will put the entire canvas down. I don't know if you can see that, but like if we were to get rid of everything, boom, like it's all there together now. But then if we say we click this dude here and we click copy, it'll only copy what was on that particular layer. That's pretty self-explanatory, but just so you know, that's the difference between them. All right, that's pretty much that one. Canvas, you can have a drawing guide, so there's a grid here. If you click edit drawing guide, you can get an isometric grid, you can get perspective, so you can tap. Oh, so if you want like 2-point perspective, then you can do that, you can adjust it. And if you click assisted drawing, you can basically, as long as it says assisted on that layer, and in order to get that, you can also just double click and click drawing assist here. Whatever you draw will follow those lines in those perspective. So you want to draw a line down here, boom, it is automatically following that perspective. This doesn't only work with perspective stuff. If you want like a 2D grid, then that works fine too. Again, as long as you have that drawing assist, that assisted button there, you'll get perfect lines. Or even if you turn it off, just heed my warning, if you turn it off and the drawing grid goes away, again, as long as it says assisted, it'll still do those lines. So you can have the drawing grid not up, but if you just want to take that off, then again, double click, click drawing assist, get that out of there, and you're free to draw whatever. If you want to draw straight lines, but not use a drawing grid or not have to go through that process, you can draw a line. Oh, sorry, that was a curve. And draw a semi-straight line, and if you hold it, it will snap into place. Something else cool, if you put your finger down, then it will snap to, I believe, 15-degree increments. So that's very cool. So also something you can do, if you draw squiggles and you hold, then it'll change into this polyline created. If you draw a curve, it'll draw a nice curve for you. If you draw like a circle, it'll snap into a nice oval. But if you want it to be a perfect circle, again, all you need to do is put another finger down on the screen and boom, perfect circle. Boom, 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 boom. Very nice. All right. All right, reference is a good one. I think we're getting a little bit into the more complex stuff. So reference here is just super helpful. So you can have, there's 2 different options for reference. You can have a reference of your canvas, so you can like zoom in and stuff, and it will show you, say if I were to draw here, it'll show you what's going on that screen. So I find it helpful if I'm like working on like a particular detail, say I like this eye and I want to draw like purple eyeliner under it. Or maybe I just want to like draw a smiley face. Yay. Yeah. Then it'll show, oh gosh, that looks so wrong. Let's just draw a flower. Boom, flower under our character. Then we have it there and we can see it there. It's helpful when you're working up close, but you still want to see like what's going on in the big picture. Another option is if you tap your reference, you can click image. So say you're drawing from a particular image, say, I don't know, you want this dude going like, what the heck? Don't ask me why I have that on my thing. Then we can have it there and I can be like, oh, well, now I want to draw this. I'll draw him, but boom. Boom, perfect, done. And just to get rid of that, just click reference and then it's gone. Something else, flip canvas horizontally, vertically. I use horizontally a lot just because flipping the canvas is good to make sure that you're still drawing, because the eye can deceive you, right? Yeah, I'm pretty sure you already know this, but it's helpful. Canvas information, I'll let you figure this out, but you have a bunch of different options. The main thing that I use is statistics, so it'll tell you how much time you've spent, like how many strokes you've made. Sometimes it's really cool and depressing to look at how long you've spent on a canvas, but mainly cool. And I think that's it. Share, so this is how you're going to save your drawings. So you can share image. I typically do it in JPEG. PDF and PNG is also a good option, so you can just click save image. Now that we have that image saved, if we go back, boom, there it is. And I won't get into, actually no, I will. So basically, if you draw something and you're like, say you're making a sticker, and like, I don't know, we've colored this in, this is a nice sticker, I want this as a sticker. Then what we can do is all we have to do is get rid of our background. So it'll only show what we've drawn on it. We click PNG. You may know this already, but just in case you don't, click PNG and save image. And basically that will do, it will save everything that you've drawn, but not any of the background. If you were to do this and click like the JPEG, it will put a background on it. So there's the JPEG version. It's just not showing it because the line art is black and the thing goes black. It's just the line art. But if you click JPEG, then it automatically puts a background on it. PDF is another good one. It's totally up to you. I typically do JPEG just because it's the smallest file size. And share layers. I don't really do this very often. Yeah, I honestly don't know anything about sharing layers, aside from just like you can send like a particular layer to people. Video, you can do a time-lapse replay. So this was like me planning what we were going to talk about, and this was me doing a bunch of crap. So there's that, and you can also export the time video. You can turn the recording off. Now, as long as you have this button on, no matter what drawing you do, like I drew this recently, and as long as you have that button on, it will show an entire time lapse of what you've done. So that's how that works. And if you want to turn it off, just click the button. It will ask, like if you started working, it'll ask if you want to purge the video. I don't want to purge the video, but then it'd be off. I'm just going to turn it back on. And you can export it. You can give like an option for 30 seconds or full length, and it'll give you the same like menu thing as it does when you're trying to save the image. So yeah, that's everything about video. Preferences, you can turn it to the light if you want. I just find that really hard on the eyes sometimes, so I typically keep it dark. Plus, I just like the dark look better. The right hand interface, if you draw with your left hand, you can use like the right hand or not. Like it's totally like I draw with my right hand, but sometimes it's helpful for some people. Some people prefer it on this side. I typically have it on the left hand side because I draw with my right, and then my left hand is free, so I can like quickly change it. Yeah. Totally up to you. Brush cursor. I show my brush cursor, so like if we let's look at, you can see like the box of where my cursor is, or here, let's do this. Let's turn the opacity down. Yeah, see, you can see the cursor of where it is. I drew for the longest time without it on. It's totally personal preference, but I like having it on just because sometimes it's easier to see like where the brush is going. Project canvas is just like if you have AirPlay on. I'm not really sure what it is, to be honest, but just like connecting your canvas to other screens. I've never used it before. Edit pressure curve. I know very little about this, but basically you can change like the curve of the pressure that goes on in your Apple Pen. I've seen a lot of settings like this. Honestly, again, I know very, very little about it. So I typically will just keep myself on the default, because I'm used to it and I like it. Gesture controls is a big one. This is probably one of the more complex areas of Procreate. Basically, there's just a bunch of different like quick options that you can do. Like say if you like, you want to erase, then, you can like hold that and touch the screen. It's totally up to you. I suggest that you just like go on and play around. This is probably something that you'll get familiar with as you get more comfortable with using Procreate, and probably not from the start. The main thing I'd talk about is the quick menu, which you've probably seen pop up a few times. I have it so when I touch the screen with my finger, this little quick menu shows up, and it has a bunch of different options. You can create your own, so you can click that. And like, you see how it says all like no action? You can click it. Maybe I want to, I don't know, redo. So I put like a new layer button here. So every time I click that, so like say I'm busy working, tap the screen, new layer, it's on a different layer. Or redo, that kind of stuff. Yeah, and like, so for an option is like, this is the one that I use most often. So I have new layer, flip the canvas horizontally because I do that a lot. It's just an option to do things really quickly. Merge down. Again, remember when we talked about merging? Oh, and again, if you have a layer that's locked and you try to like merge everything together, it'll be like, whoa, you have a layer that's merged in there, you can't do that, or locked in there, so you can't do that. Yeah, those are like clear layer to get rid of things quickly. Yeah, that's my quick menu. And again, it's just all about the speed. I'm really comfortable with Procreate, so I can work at that high speed. And again, like the rapid undo delay is like, again, just like a very specific thing that you can get familiar with as you go. And help is, I've honestly never been on this page. I really know nothing about it. Ooh, advanced settings. Oh gosh. Okay, we won't do that now. But that's there. I know nothing about it. Next button is the magic wand button. So this is your adjustments one. So say let's get rid of this right now. Say that I drew this smiley face. Huzzah! Ha 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 ha. Blush. And I don't really like the color of it or the saturation of it. I can change the hue of it or color of it. Say I like this green. Say I want it really dull and really white. So brightness will change how light it is, obviously. Saturation, super saturated, no saturation. And the colors. And then if you click the screen and you click preview, it'll show you how it's changed since you did that. Cool. It's actually really helpful sometimes, like really helpful. And I only got familiar with this like a few months ago. So again, it's one of those more complex settings that you will probably get used to if you choose to continue using the thing. I know nothing about color balance, and I know nothing about curves and gradient map. So I won't talk about those. Actually, let's talk about this. Yeah, I have no idea what's going on right now. I won't talk about that because I don't know what's going on. But those exist. Gaussian blur is basically whatever you've drawn. If you slide your finger from the left to the right, it'll blur it. Same with your motion blur. It's similar kind, but different, and it'll follow where your pen is. Isn't that cool? Look at it go. So there's that. Again, there's that preview option to see how it's changed since you adjusted it. And the perspective blur. So say you want the eye of focus down at the bottom, and you slide your finger, it will blur things according to the distance. See how like the top of the head is much more blurred than the bottom of the head? It'll blur things according to the distance. So say that we want, I don't know, the left eye to be like the main part of focus, and we blur everything else. Then we look at it, boom, this is in focus, but everything else is blurry. Cool, right? Noise, sharpen, bloom, glitch, halftone, and chromatic aberration. I don't know why it took so long to do that. These are just like, again, they're kind of like the brushes, like all of these brushes. They're just fun things to kind of figure out as you go. So like glitch, same thing, slide your finger, it'll do some like really cool stuff. You can like change the kind of glitch you want. Yeah, super cool. I don't use these much, but they're very fun to experiment with. And then liquefy, again, another one of those things that you'll figure out as you go. And one of those things that's really, really fun to just play around with. Watcha! Look at those. Look at those. And again, same thing. You can click, you can reset. You can twirl left. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, now we have a liquefied smiley face. In clone, I've never used this before. You know what? I have no idea what that does. I have no idea what this does. Whoa. I have no idea what this does. We're going to leave that for now. Get rid of it. I don't know how to get, there we go. It's gone. All right. Next button. Next button is this little squiggly thing. This is your select tool. So basically, say that I don't like half of this face and I want to readjust half of this face. I can select half of this face, click this arrow at the top here, and whatever I selected, it's going to separate. Huzzah, huzzah, huzzah. And there are a couple different options with this. You have your freehand option, your automatic option, your rectangle or ellipse. So an automatic is a slider, so it'll automatically, I never use this. I don't think I've ever actually used this once. But you have that option. Freehand, you can just draw whatever. Like if you draw that, then you get this really weird cutting of it. You can do a rectangle, which I think I got most of that in there. And then your ellipse. Oops, ellipse. Take down a circular kind. So this is a great way to resize things as well. If you're like, this head is too small, then you can pull on these little things here, make it bigger. Freeform is things will just go with the flow, go as you change your pencil. Uniform means if you grab one end, it will remain the same size the entire time. I have snapping on, which again, a little bit more of a complex thing, but basically it'll just tell me where it is in the middle. Or like, say like I drew something else. Say I drew this line here. It will tell me when I move this where it's flush with that line, or in the middle of that line, or the side of that line, or in the middle of that line, you know? It's very helpful to move things around like that. All right. And then I think the last thing I'll talk about that, if you select this and you click copy and paste, then it will take that half that you selected, or whatever part of it you selected. And another thing I will talk about, if you have color fill on it, say you made a rectangle, whatever colors in your color palette will fill the thing, and you can adjust it as you go, just like that. All right, nice. And I think that's the thing. If you want to just select everything that's on it, don't even bother clicking the select tool. You can just click this arrow tool and it'll give you this. So again, you can change the shape. You can do it uniformly. Distort is you can flip things or put certain points in the background, kind of put it into 3D space. It's really cool. And warp is really helpful if you're trying to put like, say like I drew, I don't know, this cylinder and I want to put, oops, let me get rid of that. I want to put this on the cylinder. So all I have to do is, you know, put the size on and warp it to fit the cylinder a little bit better. I think this is a pretty poor example, but I hope you understand what I mean. So that's a really cool option. And again, like if you have this thing and you want to flip it horizontally, then you can do that. Like if you have, you know, say you drew the body, yay, but you don't like the orientation of the head, you just click it, click horizontal, readjust it, boom, look it the other way. Or say you want to flip it upside down, boom, or rotate it, boom. You have a wonderful head. And that is about it. All right, let's talk about blending layers. And for this, I'm going to get this drawing out again. So blending layers is something that you can do. So say, I'm going to get my soft airbrush out for this. Say I draw in this nice purple color that I like drawing in, and I draw over this character. Now, if you click this N here, it gives you a bunch of different options, and you can see how each option changes the blue color. So this is normal. This is just over top of the drawing. I do not use most of these. Again, this is one of the things that you'll just play around with when you can, but I will say the ones that I use most commonly. So here in your darkening, anything above normal is your darkening blending layers. I use multiply quite often because as you can see, everything inside of it gets darkened, and we could use that clipping mask to change that. So say I wanted her head in the shadow, boom, her head looks like it's in a shadow. So I use multiply often. Something else that I use often, aside from normal, is lighten, screen, color dodge, overlay. Again, these are just things that you're gonna have to figure out as you go. If you wanted to make this entire thing like tinted, I don't know, green, then we could grab like a green, fill that. Again, we're on that clipping mask, so everything's on this drawing before it. Click the N, and if we go to hue, as you can see, we can make everything greenish. And if you click that, you can change the layer opacity. I kind of forgot to talk about that earlier. If you click the N, the opacity is also brought up, so you can change how much you're seeing something. So when I'm drawing something, So I don't know. Let's just draw a person right now. Whoops. Da, 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 da. Smiley face. Yeah, say I drew this person. When I'm drawing, I will draw that, and I'll put the opacity on my sketch layer down, and I'll do a layer above that. I'll grab some black. I'll grab my thing that I like to ink with, and then I'll go over it so I can see the sketch underneath it. So it's helpful in that case. Boom. And then we can get rid of it, and then we have our line art. Papa, papa. Also, something to worth mentioning about this, about your brushes, is see like my hand is fairly unsteady. Like everyone's hand is fairly unsteady. So when you're drawing, it can pick up that unsteadiness. See how wavy it is? But if you have shaky hands and you're trying to do something really smooth, click this thing. Click, where is it? Stroke path. If you click streamline, and say we'll put it at 100%, it will change. Oops, why didn't it go there? Why is it not going? I'm confused. Oh, there we go. It will change what you're doing to like snap to this beautiful smooth path. As you can see, it's kind of weird right now. Versus if I were to take streamline off, then whatever, sorry, I don't know what it's doing. I'm confused. There we go. I don't know what it's doing. It'll show that shakiness. So that's another fun thing to experiment with. Anyways, back to what I was talking about with this. So you can change if you don't like her being super green, but you still want to have a tint, then like maybe you go like that and you're like, yeah, that's good. Or something else you can do, like say you want to you're like, this drawing isn't saturated enough, and you take like a super saturated blue and drop it in here. Then the saturation doesn't seem to change. That was awful. But if you have like colors that are super dull, you can change the saturation to match that of the blue or whatever color you do. Colors very, very similar to hue. Honestly, I don't really understand the difference quite yet. But it'll kind of color everything to be blue. And then luminosity, basically it'll change to have the same luminosity as the color you have selected. So yeah, again, just very, very more complex stuff, but it may be helpful for you in the future. Let's see what else I had to talk. Okay, that's pretty much everything that I use like on like a fairly daily basis, or just like whenever I'm drawing. So I'm going to talk about the main gallery screen. So basically, you have all of this stuff. If you want to create a new canvas, you can just click this plus in the top right corner. I often do screen size, but there's a bunch of different other options. Clipboard is basically if you go into a canvas and you click copy. So we can click clipboard. This was the last thing we copied, and it'll just automatically open that. So it's easy thing. And if you want to delete something, you can either click select. We could select both of those and say, I want to delete both of these. It will say, are you sure you want to delete these two artworks? This cannot be undone. I heed warning to you, like serious warning. I have deleted things and there's no way to get them back. So save your stuff. But we're going to delete that and boom, just like that, they're gone. And there's no way of getting it back. Actually, hold on. Start gallery recovery. Yeah, no, that will not work. That's just like if the file gets corrupted, it has like a little bit of a safety system, but there is no way of getting deleted artworks back. So take care of them and save them as you go. And especially if like you group things, like if I were to group these two sketches together and I hit delete, I'm not even going to hit delete. I'm not even going to do it. That's actually how you group things. So that's one thing. But if you were to group things and you were to hit delete, then it would delete everything in it. So heed warning. I have some things grouped, like the commission info sheets here. Like I have two grouped, just because I was working on like prices for commissions, or what else did I have grouped? I was working on this commission. I have like all the sketches for it together. So grouping is very helpful. If you want to rename something, then you can just go in like that and type what you want as your new name. Say blah 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 blah. It'll add that. I'm not actually going to add that. I put the dates in which I start things, so that's why all of these have dates as titles. Import. You can import from your files. I have nothing in here except my hydro bill from June 15th. So that's that. Photo, you can say that, I don't know, you want to, where's a good photo? Maybe we want to do this baby. We want to have this it'll automatically snap to the file size, and you are free to paint over said baby. Or I don't even know if this is a baby. Don't ask me why I have this in my camera roll. I just do. Harry Potter. Anyways. So that is an option. And you can have albums, that kind of stuff. Yeah. And again, if you click plus, again, there's very different options. If you want to create your own canvas size, then it'll just bring this up. Your maximum layers, you can change. Say you'll have 250. That's a lot of layers. I don't know most about these things. This kind of cues where like digital art and traditional art kind of becomes more familiar with each other, because you can change the, oh my gosh. I had no idea. I was wondering why the quality of all my time lapses have gone down. Oh my god. Okay, sorry, I just discovered something amazing. Studio quality. Oh, no way. Okay. Anyways, color profile I know nothing about. But again, dimensions, you can change it in pixels, or if you want it inches, centimeters, millimeters, totally up to you. I do pixels. A DPI, I don't know what that is, but I just keep it at the modern setting, and regular setting, and I don't really have any issues. Oh, that's so cool. I'm so happy that I found out about that thing. And again, if you swipe right to left on a thing, you'll get 3 options. You can share it, so it's just an easier, faster way than going into the file and saving the drawing. Say I want to save this. Click that. Same thing. Exports the text file. Yay. Duplicate. You can duplicate the entire canvas, and it'll have like the layers there. It'll keep the time-lapse drawing there. So that's very helpful. And again, there's that delete button, which I wouldn't dare to press right now, even though it does give you an "Are you sure?" option. I'm terrified of deleting stuff. But yeah, and if like when you first get Procreate, it'll have a bunch of different artworks that they feature, and you can restore those at any time. These are like super freaking cool. I think they're so cool to look at sometimes. Like this one's amazing. But yeah, you can get those at any time. Again, I just heed warning about, deleting stuff. If you want to, you can preview them. So you can just go through those solely. Or if you want to just like quickly go through your stuff, you can zoom in on a thing and then slide. I'm working on my like commission stuff right now, so this is all that. And yeah, that is like pretty much the most I know. If you want to save a bunch of things, you can share and save all of them. Say like JPEG, save 3 images, and if you go to your thing, they will all be there. A huzzah! Huzzah, huzzah! And you can duplicate all of them. I'm not going to do that because it just means I'm going to have to delete all of them. The undo and redo buttons does not work. But again, I think the main thing about the main menu or like the main screen that I stress this is be careful when you're grouping stuff, because it can all get deleted just as easily if you were to delete a single piece. Like, oh, I know, I'm too scared to do it. I was going to show an example, but I'm too scared. Basically, you'll have all of your stuff. Like, I have groups, these things, because I'm not down here very often, but I used to keep all of my things in one big, huge file, but now I don't, because it's bad when you delete them, and then all of your artwork is gone. I did that by accident in January, and it was not fun. But yeah, that is my tutorial for Procreate. I really hope you enjoy it. It's a cool program. It's I think it's very user-friendly. And I've used it since I got my iPad. So yeah, it's really fun. Yay. I hope you enjoy it. Thumbs up for you. This is an awful hand. Yay. Okay, enjoy, bye.